Sir. This section is for designated family only. Step back, or security will escort you. Can you imagine hearing those harsh words on such a proud day? The usher's voice cut through the air like a blade, but the man didn't even blink. He stood there, unshaken, in his weathered marine jacket. Oh, how that jacket told a story. Its fabric was worn thin, the brass buttons tarnished by years of sacrifice, yet it hung on him with a quiet pride. In his trembling hands, he held a treasure, a handwritten invitation from his son, the ink slightly smudged but the words crystal clear, "Dad, I want you in the front row." They dared to think he didn't belong, how wrong they were. But 6 Navy SEALs, sitting silently in the 5th row, knew the truth. They knew exactly who this man was. And when they rose to their feet, oh, how everything changed in an instant. Welcome to Heartfelt Gratitude Stories, where stories of courage and kindness light up the shadows. Let's dive into what really unfolded that day, because this is a tale you won't soon forget. The sun had barely peeked over the ridge when Linda Monroe pulled into the faculty lot of St. Albans College, nestled like a hidden gem in the peaceful folds of Albemarle County, Virginia. The sky stretched out clear and endless, the breeze kissed her cheeks softly, and a hopeful stillness wrapped around her heart. Don't you just love those rare, perfect graduation mornings? She smoothed the creases in her dress, her fingers brushing the fabric as if to calm the butterflies fluttering inside her. Stepping out of her car, she gripped the program tightly, her son's name glowing halfway down the second column, Dean's List. Can you believe she'd stared at those 2 words at least 100 times in the past 2 weeks? Each glance sent a surge of pride swelling in her chest, a feeling so big it had nowhere to go but deeper into her soul. The auditorium buzzed with life as Linda stepped inside, families waving signs, clutching balloons, and cradling bouquets, their joy spilling over like a river. The air hummed with excited chatter and the sharp snap of camera flashes. Linda followed the usher's quick wave to her seat, 5th row, center left. What a spot! She loved the unobstructed view of the stage, watching the graduates line up with their caps tilted just so, shoulders squared with nervous excitement. But even more, she adored soaking in the crowd, their faces alive with love and anticipation. And then, she saw him. Not through the grand main entrance like everyone else, no, he slipped in through the far side door by the emergency exit, quiet as a whisper, deliberate as a heartbeat, alone in a sea of celebration. He wore an old marine dress jacket, oh, how it tugged at Linda's memory, so like the one her father wore at his funeral. The seams were faded, the shoulders a touch too big, draping over him like a mantle of honor. His jeans were threadbare, his boots scuffed from years of hard roads, and his hands stayed folded behind his back, steady as stone. While the crowd swirled around him, laughing, chatting, fussing with ties, he stood still, a statue carved from dignity, unnoticed yet impossible to ignore. Linda tilted her head, her curiosity sparking. Who was this man? He didn't seem lost, no, he looked patient, almost watchful, like he was waiting for a moment only he could sense. Then, with slow, careful steps, he moved toward the front rows, toward the roped-off section adorned with little silver placards that read, "Guest of Honor." Could he really belong there? He stepped up to an empty seat near the aisle, but before he could settle, a young woman with a headset blocked his path, clutching her clipboard like a shield. "Sir," she snapped, her voice tight with authority. "This section is for designated family only." The man didn't flinch. He nodded once, calm as a summer lake, and said, "My son's graduating today. I should be on the list." His voice was soft, steady, didn't he deserve a chance to be heard? But the usher didn't even glance at her clipboard. She just pointed to the back, cold as ice. "You'll need to stand clear, please, or security will escort you." Linda watched, her heart sinking. The man's posture didn't waver, not a twitch, not a tremble. He stepped back one pace, no fight, no fuss, just pure grace under pressure. 2 security guards loomed closer, shadows behind the usher, but the crowd? They didn't even notice. Too busy perfecting their camera shots and pinning corsages, how could they miss this quiet storm unfolding? Linda saw it all, though, and so did a small group of men in row 5, just a few seats to her right. Their eyes hadn't left the man since he walked in. Did they know something the rest didn't? The old Marine took his place by the side wall, right under the glowing red exit sign, hands still clasped behind him, chin lifted ever so slightly, his gaze locked on the stage like it was the only thing that mattered. The ceremony kicked off soon after, a booming voice over the speakers welcoming everyone, students, parents, honored guests. Applause erupted, cameras clicked like firecrackers, and the dean tossed out a tuition joke that got a few chuckles. But Linda couldn't laugh. Her eyes were glued to the man at the back. Why wasn't anyone else seeing him? The headset girl passed by him again, now with another staffer in tow. He's still standing there, she hissed under her breath. I don't think he's even invited. The other muttered back, I'll have security keep an eye on him. Linda's chest tightened, not with fear or anger, but with a piercing shame that wasn't hers to bear. How could they treat him like this? That man didn't look like trouble, he looked like someone who'd already carried the weight of the world. Then the student speaker strode up, a polished young man in a flawless suit, the dean's son, according to the program. He hit all the right notes, paused in all the right places, thanked all the right people. But then, he smirked and said, and a special thanks to the presentable family sitting right here in the front, reminding us what real college values look like. The crowd tittered, a polite ripple of laughter, but Linda's stomach turned. Neither the man at the back nor the men in row 5 joined in. They traded quick, silent glances, and one, a tall guy with a buzz cut under a ball cap, leaned forward. That was for him, he growled low. The others nodded, their faces hard. Did they feel the sting too? Linda's eyes darted from the stage to the man by the wall. He hadn't budged, still standing, still waiting, holding something heavy yet unseen. And right then, Linda knew it deep in her bones, this man wasn't here to stir trouble, and someone had messed up, big time. She didn't know his name, his past, or the battles he'd fought, but one thing was clear, he didn't belong in the shadows. Not today, not ever. And if no one else would stand up for him, maybe she would. The program rolled on, names ringing out, applause flashing like lightning. But Linda couldn't tear her eyes from the man at the back, the one everyone else seemed blind to. Those men in row 5 watched him too, their stillness a stark contrast to the crowd's carefree buzz. They sat taller, quieter, were they waiting for the moment she could feel brewing? When the ushers moved again, this time with a security clipboard, Linda leaned forward, her brow creasing. The man didn't fight as a guard approached, he just turned slightly, listening to words too soft for Linda to catch. But his response? Oh, it hit her hard. He shook his head gently and said, firm but not loud, I'm not causing trouble. My son asked me to be here. I'm not moving until I see him walk that stage. The guard puffed up, all authority. Sir, I need you to come with me. But Linda's heart screamed, why couldn't they just let him stay? She glanced around, nobody else cared. The front rows were lost in their photo ops, oblivious to the quiet eviction just feet away. Only the men in row 5, and Linda, saw the truth. She turned to the woman beside her, a school administrator by her badge. Do you know who that man is? She whispered, desperate. The woman barely looked up, shrugging. Probably someone who wandered into the wrong section. These ceremonies always bring in extras. Extras? That word slammed into Linda like a fist. How dare they call this man, this pillar of dignity in scuffed boots, mere clutter. She looked back, really saw him this time, the deep lines carved into his face, the steel in his jaw, the slight tilt of his left shoulder like an old wound still whispered pain. That jacket, dark blue, buttons dulled, sleeves frayed, wasn't for show, it was his best, his badge of honor. How long had he stood there, unwavering? She didn't know, but one thing was certain, he was here for his son, not for a fight. A second guard stepped in, a hand brushing the man's elbow, nudging him toward the exit. Then, "Oh, listen," the faint crinkle of paper sang out. The man reached into his coat, pulling out that small, worn card, its edges softened by love. He held it up, not as a challenge, but as a plea. "My son sent this," he said softly, the words a quiet thunder. Linda glimpsed the blue ink. "Dad, I want you in the front row." But the staff? They didn't care. "No guest pass, no seat," the usher barked. "Please, sir." He exhaled, nodded, and stepped back, pure grace, no defiance. Linda's throat burned with anger and borrowed shame. She opened her mouth to protest, but wait. A chair scraped back. Then another, and 4 more, 6 men rose as one from row 5. They didn't yell, didn't strut, but their movement shifted the world. Linda felt it, the room trembled. The tallest, eyes like steel under a baseball cap, marched to the back, to the old Marine being pushed out of his son's big day. He pulled something from his jacket, a badge, gleaming gold and silver, a Navy SEAL trident. One by one, the others joined him, standing shoulder to shoulder with the Marine, not guarding, but honoring him. The tall one faced the guard, his voice calm yet booming. "That man doesn't leave this room. He led us through hell, he stays right here." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Finally, they turned. Most didn't get it, but Linda did. She stood, eyes locked on the Marine, his name a mystery, but his worth? Oh, it shone bright. No one earns 6 SEALs by chance. The guards froze, the usher shrank back, wide-eyed. But the Marine? He didn't crow, he just looked down, humble as ever. This wasn't about glory, it was about that seat he'd been denied, for his son. Linda turned to the woman beside her, her heart pounding with fierce resolve. "That man's name will mean something before this day is done," she proclaimed, her voice quivering with unshakable belief. Then, with a bold step, she cleared the path, because oh, how she knew it. Whatever came next, the auditorium had just glimpsed the spark of something monumental, far grander than any polished program or rehearsed speech. This was raw. This was earned. And it had risen from the back of the room, where the best seat was cruelly withheld, yet where true honor stood tall, unwavering, all along. The room held its breath. Can you feel that stillness? For a long, aching moment, only the faint hum of overhead lights and the nervous rustle of programs being shoved under seats pierced the air. 6 men stood shoulder to shoulder, their plain civilian clothes powerless to conceal their fierce identity. In their hands, badges gleamed under the auditorium's glow, small, radiant Navy SEAL tridents. How could you miss the pride in that shine? Linda Monroe stood frozen, her pulse thundering in her ears, yet her feet refused to budge. Around her, the crowd turned in unison, conversations cut off mid-word, phones dropped from hands, laughter evaporated as if it had never belonged. And there he was, the man at the heart of it all, unshaken, gripping that folded invitation, his jaw locked not in fury, but in a quiet, steely restraint that screamed strength. The tallest SEAL stepped forward, his presence commanding. His voice rolled out, low yet booming through the space like a storm on the horizon. "You can't remove him," he thundered. "You won't." He paused, his piercing gaze sweeping the crowd, daring them to challenge him. "This man led us through fire, through dirt, through blood. When the world crumbled behind us, he stood at the front." He wheeled back to the guards, eyes blazing. "He doesn't leave this room." No one clapped. No one cheered. But oh, how the air shifted. It wasn't loud, it was softer than reverence, as if the room awoke from a shameful dream, the curtain of indifference torn wide open. Then, from the left, another voice rose, not young, not forceful, but carrying a weight that stopped hearts. An older man stood, his gray jacket adorned with military medals that twinkled like stars. Gasps rippled through the crowd, Linda's breath caught too. A colonel. She knew that uniform. "I know that man," the colonel declared, his voice steady as granite. His name is Master Sergeant Raymond Cole, 3rd Reconnaissance Battalion, United States Marine Corps, retired. He drew a breath, heavy with the past. In 2006, during Operation Fire Watch in Kandahar, I watched him charge back into a blazing compound, under active fire, to haul out 5 Marines. He didn't beg for backup. He didn't wait for orders. He just went. The silence deepened, pressing down like a physical force. He was the only one who came back outstanding, the colonel said, voice thick, because he carried us all on his back. A lone cough echoed far off. A program slipped to the floor, but still, no one dared speak. Linda's eyes found Raymond Cole again, still standing, still silent, still asking for nothing. How could they have tried to cast him aside? Then, a stir from the stage, movement among the sea of graduates. A young man in cap and gown burst forward, his steps quick, urgent, his eyes scanning the crowd with desperate intent. His cap tilted rakishly, his hands shook as he seized the podium's microphone. Linda knew instantly, this was Lucas Cole, the son. He didn't hesitate, didn't falter. Leaning into the mic, his voice broke raw and true, that's my dad. Every head snapped to the stage. Lucas stared into the crowd, his words tight with emotion yet firm as a vow. He didn't want attention, never did. Every morning before school, for as long as I can recall, he told me the same thing. His breath hitched, then surged forward. Stand tall. Keep going. Be someone you'd be proud to face in the mirror. He locked eyes with his father by the exit door. I'm proud today, he cried. Not for this degree, not for this stage, but because of him. Lucas abandoned the podium, striding toward the back, past rows of stunned graduates, straight to the man they'd nearly ejected. He stopped before his father, no wavering, then, with slow precision, saluted him sharp and true. Raymond didn't salute back. Instead, he stepped forward and enveloped his son in his arms, an embrace so simple, so real, it struck harder than any grand gesture. Can you feel the power in that quiet love? The 6 SEALs stiffened, their spines like steel, and one by one, they raised their hands in salute to the man who'd once guided them through hell and back. Linda blinked back tears. When had she last seen a room shed its pretense so completely? Laughter from moments ago dissolved into reverence. In that stillness, something sacred bloomed, not holy in a churchly sense, but pure and profound. Raymond rested a gentle hand on Lucas's shoulder, whispering words only his son could catch. Lucas's faint smile broke through, a nod, then he turned, standing tall beside his father, facing the crowd as one. The usher who dismissed Raymond now stared at her clipboard as if it mocked her. A guard slipped away into the shadows, no one dared block them now. Linda watched, heart swelling, as Lucas clasped his father's hand and led him forward, toward the seats that once rejected him, toward the front. For the first time that day, every soul parted, not ordered, but compelled by what was right. Raymond Cole said nothing as he walked with his son. He didn't need to, the silence roared louder than words. At first, it hung thick, sacred, then a soft clap broke through, tentative, then joined by another, swelling like a storm. Soon, the auditorium rose to its feet, no shouts, just pure, reverent applause. Linda stood too, her hands meeting in a clap that was both honor and regret, for the man they tried to erase now held every gaze. The usher who'd spurned him shrank back, her clipboard quaking, stepping aside as Raymond passed, silent, shamed. His walk to the front was steady, unhurried, his boots striking the floor with a soldier's rhythm, calm, unshaken. Lucas never left his side. At the roped-off section, once barred to him, no one resisted. Space opened, earned through valor, not given by grace. Raymond didn't crow or preen. He simply sat, second row, center left, Lucas beside him. Behind them, the 6 SEALs stood sentinel, arms at their sides, needing no seats, for their place was ever behind him. The ceremony pressed on, but oh, how it had transformed. The dean, shaken, paused at the podium, his voice softer now. "We are honored today," he stammered, "to welcome guests of great distinction, some we failed to see in time." Claps followed, then a wave of sound, not for the dean, not for the graduates, but for a man with a folded card and a dignity the world overlooks. Raymond didn't bask. He unfolded that invitation, "Dad, I want you in the front row," and tucked it near his heart. That seat, not the spotlight, was his victory. As the crowd thinned, Linda lingered, unwilling to let it fade. She watched students pause by Raymond, some shaking his hand, others touching his shoulder in silent thanks. A young graduate, tears streaking her face, saluted him, whispering, "Thank you for carrying them." Raymond nodded, quiet, always quiet. Her throat tightened as a young seal pressed a challenge coin into Raymond's hand, its words etched deep, "The quiet ones lead the loudest wars." Raymond's grip closed around it, his burden easing just a fraction, shared, not shed. That mattered. That was everything. Later, Linda rose, glancing back at the man who'd reshaped a morning without a shout. He came for his son's call, and left with a room's respect. At the door, she paused, whispering to her soul, he sought only a seat, yet they all stood, not because he demanded, but because they owed it. In our shadows, kindness shines, often in silence. Some heroes seek no praise, only that one life endures. And sometimes, that's enough to rewrite a world. Oh, what a story. It hits hard, doesn't it? The way society brushes off people like Raymond Cole, veterans, quiet heroes, because they don't look the part. It infuriates me. We're so obsessed with surface-level flash that we miss the depth of sacrifice staring us in the face. But when those Navy SEALs stood up, when the truth roared out, I felt my chest tighten, pride, anger, tears all at once. It's a gut punch to our shallow values. And that father-son bond? Pure, raw love, it wrecked me. We need to wake up, stop judging, and see people. How many more Raymonds are out there, ignored? This isn't just a story, it's a mirror to our souls. I'm shaken, inspired, and honestly, a little ashamed we let it get this far. We can do better. We have to. Subscribe to Heartfelt Gratitude Stories, where justice is honored, kindness is remembered, and no act of quiet heroism is ever lost, because how could we let it fade?